In this video, we discuss the limitations of the 4% rule and where it can go wrong. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
The rule, in a nutshell, says that if a retiree withdraws 4% of their nest egg plus the value of inflation every year, they should have enough to cover 30 years of retirement, assuming they don't exceed those levels. He also made the assumption that the retiree invested a 60-40 split of that nest egg, 60% in equities and 40% in fixed income.
Today, by the way, Bingen says the number is actually closer to 4.7%. He personally withdraws only 3.5% from his portfolio, but cites the performance of the equity market over the last decade or so as the catalyst for his lower withdrawal.
Let's start off with the basic assumptions of the model that you're going to see in just a second. The model assumes that the retiree has a $100,000 nest egg. That nest egg receives a 5% return per annum on the investment. Inflation is running at 3.5% per year, and they're withdrawing 4% plus inflation. The model also assumes that the retiree takes out everything they need for the year on January 1st. Therefore, that amount of money is taken out of the investment pot, therefore not receiving that 5% return. As you can see from the spreadsheet, that nest egg would pay you $4,000 on January 1st. 1 year later, it would pay $41.40, and 1 year after that, $42.85. So growing with inflation. In year 30, you would receive $10,848. At the end of 30 years, the balance would be $7,953. So in other words, it worked. At the end of 30 years, you did not run out of money. It's worth pointing out that it's not guaranteed that it's going to work. There will be some under and overspending during the years, and if you catch those wrong, then you're going to have a problem because you're taking out too much or too little when the opportunity presents itself to take out the right amount. The assumptions depend on averages, and a retiree doesn't spend averages. So today the biggest challenge of the 4% rule is that a lot of the assumptions are very, very difficult to achieve. First of all, the equity market is on a wild ride, up and down. The bond market, bond yields are at historic lows. The inflation target isn't 3.5%. Currently, we're running at just under 8% and headed north. And frankly, with medical technology moving the way that it is, maybe you'll live longer than 30 years. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet, again, assuming that you don't get a 5% return, but only a 4% return. Everything else stays the same in the assumptions. When you change the return, you come up short after 26 years. So the last 4 years are negative. Some people will say, Jeff, that's fine, 26 years, 30 years, what's the difference? Believe me when I tell you, if you're there at the 27th year mark, it will make a big difference to you. Let's put the portfolio return back to 5% and change the assumptions around inflation from 3.5% to 4.5%. Again, you run out of money at the 26-year mark. Finally, what happens when you have low returns and high inflation, the way that we did during stagflation a few decades ago? If you assume a 4.5% return and a 4.5% inflation number, you make it to 22 years. Finally, 30 years may actually be too short. The fact is, this rule was created in 1994. It's 2022. It's only been 28 years since it has been created. The full 30 years has never been tested. Admittedly, actuarial tables are pretty precise, but if you're coming up on year 29 right now and you are in a world where the Dow Jones is dropping 10% during the first few months of the year and you can't reinvest in bonds because they're yielding less than 3%, well, that's a very difficult position to be in. Overlay that with the fact that at the 28-year mark, you don't have a lot of capital left to wait out the downturn. And of course, with historical low interest rates, volatility in the equity market, an 8% inflation rate doesn't help the math at all. So should you abandon the 4% rule? Well, not necessarily. You just need to know its limitations. And you need to pay close attention to the variables and, more importantly, your lifestyle. Consider the following. Will you spend more during the go-go years of your retirement, age 60 to say 75 or 80? Travel, dinners out, buying dinners for family and friends when you entertain, etc. These years tend to have a lot of activity. If you belong to a club, a tennis club, a country club, or any kind of club, the dues are not free. Neither is the cost with engaging in family and friends socially. Oftentimes, grandma or grandpa or both pay for big trips for the family for a marquee anniversary. Can you stomach the volatility in the market? Right now, a lot of people are having a very difficult time because they went through a very bad 2020, only to come out very strong. They saw a very strong 2021, and they were expecting more of the same in 2022, only to be let down during the first month or two of the year. At the start of the year, the Dow was at 36,585. On March 8th, it hit a low of 32,633, an 11% decline. And on March 18th, it was at 34,755, a 6.5% increase from the March 8th level. Is there a way for you to de-risk some of the volatility, such as an annuity, which transfers a lot of this risk onto an insurance company, for a fee of course, or the purchase of an inflation-linked bond through the U.S. Treasury? Are there other specialized products that might help you with this objective? Lastly, have you talked to a qualified financial planner to see what your options are? If this is the route that you want to go, make sure you ask them if they're acting as a fiduciary, someone who has your best interest first and foremost, not as someone who wants to just pitch you the next big idea and make a fee for it. By the way, if you'd like a copy of the spreadsheet that is shown in this video, go to holyschmidt.com/4-%-rule, and you can download it instantly. There's a lot of noise out there, and frankly, a lot of bad information, a lot of scary information. But there is a way to cull it down to something sensible, and that's what I try to do on this channel for you. If you'd like to see more of me, I post about twice a week. All you need to do is click subscribe and notifications below. You'll get alerted the next time I post a video. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.